first used to perform this song, I had a hell of a time remembering the lyrics in the right order. Then one day my bass player turned up with a map of the USA on which he'd drawn in felt pen the route of the whole trip covered in the song. And made me feel a bit of an idiot at the time, but after that I never had a problem remembering the verses in the right order. Later I found out that Chuck Berry, who wrote this song in 1964 whilst spending a bit of time in jail, had borrowed an atlas from the prison library to make sure he got the itinerary right. So that made me feel a whole lot better. Okay, let's learn the chord sequence. Chuck Berry took the chords for this song straight from an old American folk tune called Wabash Cannonball. It starts on C for 3 bars. 1, 2, 3. Up to F, straight to G, and back to C. So that's C for 3 bars, 2, 3, F, 1 bar, G for 3 bars, and back to C. And that's pretty much all there is to the sequence. Now the only real alteration, or the most significant alteration that Chuck made to this sequence was to put the added shuffle into it, to turn it into a real rock and roll song as opposed to a country song. And of course he played it a great deal faster. So first let's look at a couple of ways that we might play this using the added 6th shuffle. Now, if I was playing this on my own, on acoustic guitar say, or if I was playing in a band as the second guitarist, I'd probably just use open chords. I'd use the C and the F shape, and then either the G played like that, or take the F shape up a couple of frets to get a G there on just the top 4 strings. So let's look at how I add the 6th note to that. Here's our C. There's our 6th. So to get that note, I literally just fold that finger over like that. So I'm kind of playing the bottom end of the chord here. Those 3 strings, the A string, the D string and the G string. And I'm adding the 6th by literally just folding that finger. When I get up to the F, I'm just playing a 4-string F here. So there's my root note. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My 6th note's there, the note D on the B string at the 3rd fret. So I can just add that with my pinky. And then if I'm using the option of taking that shape up, I literally just take the whole thing up 2 frets for the G. And then it's back to C. Alternatively, I go to G with the ordinary open G. And then we've got G, A, B, C, D, E is the 6th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So again, it's just a matter of folding that over. So here's the whole thing. I'll do it twice through, once with each of the different Gs. Now, whether that particular approach works for you or not will depend a lot on how flexible your fingertips are. Some people physically can't bend their fingers back against the joint like that. and that's not at all uncommon, so it's nothing to be concerned about. If that's the case, and after a few tries at playing that particular method for the rhythm, you find it just really isn't working for you, don't worry, because here's another approach that will sound just as good. So this is the approach I would probably use as first choice if I was playing in a band on electric guitar, playing rhythm guitar, just against bass and drums. And I suppose also if I was playing as a second guitarist and another guitarist was playing the chords, or maybe a keyboard player was playing the chords. And this is the sort of straightforward added shuffle pattern. Played up here, we'll use C, F and G, so that would be remembering back to our earlier lessons on the rock and roll shuffle patterns. You recall that we can work out several different approaches to using this method, depending on really on what suits your fingers best. So I was using the C, F and G here, my 1, 4, 5 root notes in the classic L-shaped pattern. But you could just as easily stay rooted on the 6th string and take our hand all the way down to the 1st fret here to get the F, and back up to the 3rd fret for the G. That has the advantage of having a nice bassy sound to it, so that would sound like this. Alternatively, you might prefer, some people find it quite hard to make big changes up the fretboard like that, and it's nicer to kind of group things together a bit better. Well, we can use our sort of upside down L shape with our C there on the 5th string, our F there and G there, and that would sound like this. So that's a nice bassy sound as well, great if you're playing without a bass player. But I have to admit, for me personally, that F in particular is a heck of a stretch, and I find that quite uncomfortable on everything from the back of my hand right up to my shoulder. So I think on the backing tracks you'll hear me using this version up here, the first one I showed you. Is yours, whatever suits you best. Okay, so that's the rhythm guitar part covered. It's simply the same sequence round and round and round right the way through the song. So that's pretty quick to learn, pretty easy to learn. Alright, now let's look at the lead guitar part, starting with the intro. 1, 2, 3. And here it is in detail. We're working in the our familiar E-shaped bar chord position, the E-shaped part of the K system. And as with a lot of Chuck Berry intro riffs, we start on the flatted 3rd, slid up to the major 3rd. Now I would use my 2nd finger for that because I'm immediately then going up to the 5th and the 6th with my 1st and 3rd finger. Now that's what's called a pickup. It comes on the last beat of the previous bar, so we then come in on the beat with the double stop here on the root and 5th. This is a very commonly used intro line in common with many of Chuck Berry's tunes. Now notice there, I do those in 2 pairs of 3, and each time I'm skidding into it for another bite of the cherry. So it's then it's best to think of the next group of 3 as being separated, 2 of them coming before the beat, and then the third one coming on the beat. So it's and you can hear that strong emphasised beat there, really announcing the start of a new bar. That beat there. To take us down into the last bit of the lick, which is an interesting series of passing chords really. What we've got here is the flat 7th linked up with the flatted 5th note. If we look at our cage system and then our major scale, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's our 5th, but between there and there is the flat 5th there. So the flat 5th linked up with the flat 7th, then down to the 6th linked up with the 4th, and then down to the 5th linked up with the flatted 3rd. So we've got 3 implied chords there really. One is a half diminished C, then we've got an F chord, then we've got a C minor chord. That's just for the theorists among you. So and then we finish off by correcting the minor to the major by hammering on there at the onto the major 3rd and anchoring it back to the root note there. Now fingering wise, using your pinky there you might find difficult. No shame at all in using the 3rd finger if you prefer. Sorry. Sometimes you can find that easier to slide that than it is to switch from that one to that one. Both work fine, I think. So here it is again, full speed. Or with the 3rd finger. Hard to tell the difference. If you can, do try to take time to grasp these theory descriptions as much as you can of each of these licks, because although it's fun just to learn to play the licks, by understanding the relationship between the notes you're using and the underlying chords and scales, you'll be able to use these ideas and recycle them of other chords and other keys and positions, and that'll make you, you get a lot more out of each of these lessons. Okay, now there are actually 3 solos that Chuck Berry recorded on the original recording of this song. They're all similar in that they're played using the same chord shapes, but they are an object lesson in how to use creativity to produce endless variations on the same basic ideas. The first solo crops up at the point in the song where the Greyhound bus is having a bit of motor trouble that causes a breakdown in downtown Birmingham. Here it is at full speed against the backing track. Let's zoom in on the detail. So in this occasion we start in the G-shaped part of the cage system. So think about it working from C here. There's the A shape, G shape. So that's where we're living, and we're using much that sort of core shape there. And really we're just working this 3-note triad here. There's our root, our third and our fifth. And we're going to bounce off this 6th note here. And then come back to the root and third. A brief visit to the 2nd note of the scale. Haven't used that before, so that's fun. So we've got to watch our double stops here. That's a double stop. That's a single note. But then back to those 2 as a double stop. And those 2 as a double stop. And that's our little kind of lead into the solo really. And then we slide up from the 2nd to the 3rd note, and there we're working into our more familiar E-shaped part of the cage system. So we're using this double stop on the 5th and the 3rd note. And then that slide repeats, and then we've got a nice little fill that just comes back into the 2nd, the root, the 6th and the root. So that's and then it just repeats that same idea. That first line. So here's the whole thing at half speed. And here it is at full speed. Then over the F chord in the 4th bar, we move up to the A-shaped F chord here at the 8th and 10th frets. So looking at that in the cage system, if we come from our F down here, there's our A-shaped F pattern, and there's the major chord for reference. And this lick actually just grabs the top 2 notes of that major chord. That's the 3rd and the 5th. And after sort of initially sliding into it, it just plays it dead straight, 8 beats to the bar. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and like that. So linking that all together. Take that idea as it is, up 2 frets for the G, and that just keeps going dead straight for 2 whole bars. So that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we come back via a nice connecting series of chords. Those 2 out of the A-shaped G. Those 2 out of the F, those 2 out of an E minor, those 2 out of a D minor, and back to C. So that's. But he's actually playing this with, he speeds up the movement of the pick with the right hand, so we get some sort of percussive sounds in between, so it's more like. If you zoom in on the right hand for that, you can see the pick sort of dancing away in between each double stop. Almost strumming it. Bit of a knack that's best picked up off the original reader here, exactly how he does that. Now this descending series of chords that we just used is a very commonly used trick in country-based music like rock and roll. It's basically just using a pair of notes from each of the chords in the diatonic series. So that means we're in the key of C, our root chord would be C, and if you've done this section of the theory course, it's in the theory course part 2, you'll know that the next chord up in the diatonic series is D minor, then E minor, then F major, and G major. That's as far as we need go for this demonstration. So this particular series comes down from the 5th chord G, via the 4th chord F, 3rd chord E minor, 2nd chord D minor, to the root chord, the key chord C. And all he does is take the root and 3rd out of each of those chords, to make a nice sort of connecting scale. Scale of chords. Sometimes hear this called the Hawaiian scale. It has various names. Chord scale, Hawaiian scale, harmonised thirds you'll hear it called as well. But it's a lovely trick to learn. So the second half of the solo altogether from the G goes like this. Now on the original record that's played at breakneck speed, but the best way to learn the solo is to start real slow and try and get the timing right, and then gradually work up to full speed. So here's the whole solo now, played at sort of half speed. See if you can come along with me. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So once you're happy that you've learnt the basic sequence of notes and licks and riffs for that solo, do have a go at playing it against the backing tracks. We've recorded these at 3 different tempos so that you can build up your speed one stage at a time. Well, I hope you enjoy working on that, and once you feel on top of the intro and first solo, then please do join me in the next lesson when we'll go over the 2nd and 3rd solos. And that should get us all the way to sunny California.